Missio Dei means literally mission of God in fancy Latin speak.
And the wonderful thing about why we've chosen that word is it allows us to really sort of buy into a larger story, God's large story. I have a small part, you have a small part, we all have small parts, but it's of a much bigger story.
The purpose of it is to help people to understand that any of the work that they're going to be doing, anything that we're doing out in the community at large, in other countries, is to help enlighten people and help them to understand what God is all about, doing it one person at a time.
And one of the reasons that we really chose Missio Dei is because we really think it's going to define us.
And what that means to us, why it's important to speak that to ourselves, is that we don't really want to waste our life or our time and our resources on little tiny missions that we've defined.
It allows us to know that we're not the initiators of anything that we do. What we're doing is we're just trying to be discerning, to look around, to see the opportunities that are around us, where God is already at work.
We hope that that phrase will have power to shape us into who we most aspire to be. And that's to be a church that is joining God on God's mission of love to the world.
And we want to join in those opportunities where God's already at work, rather than thinking that we are the initiators of these good things that we're doing.
What missions is about at Lake Forest is to try to get people to stop and just stop their lives and turn so that God can work in their heart.
The word as we understand it, missional, again, is to speak vision back to us about who we're called to be as a church. I think the word missional, before I define it, it's most useful because it's helpful in correcting some recent errors in our self-understanding as the church.
We don't want to just be another church where people come, they get a weekly inoculation of religion.
But one of the things that I would hope that people would understand as they come into Lake Forest is that we have a heart to get outside the four walls of Lake Forest. That we believe the church is much bigger than this property and this real estate that we've been blessed with, that we sit on. We're much bigger than that. God is much bigger than that.
And so missional really is about the concept that the church is not the mission of God in this world. The church doesn't exist to build itself up.
That's not the way God intended us to live. Really, we are to love our neighbor, and that's part of the Christian walk.
It's a part of what we're about as a church. You know, we are a church that's founded on relationships, a personal relationship with Christ, and reaching out to help individuals in need one at a time.
We're not about being a club. We're about being the hands and feet of Jesus, sent by the Holy Spirit to go out and to make a difference in the world.
The local missions, there are several that we sponsor here through Lake Forest that were started by ministry partners. One is the Butterfly Bin. It's a household goods service where individuals or families in need they're trying to make ends meet, so they can come in to this household goods service and get items at no cost to them that they need in their home. It could be furniture or some other supply that they need that's related to the household. There's also Room in the Inn. We participate in Room in the Inn through Urban Ministries. And we have homeless people come to our church once a month. They have a meal, they enjoy some kind of social event that's going on with folks from our church. And we provide them a safe place to sleep, do haircuts, and a lot of other things that they might not get anywhere else.
But I think when people finally start to realize that they can actually do something to help people, there's so much joy in it. It just completely changes them. They're never the same.
The better part is knowing that you've helped make a difference in somebody's life.
It's been great for me in my life, and from my personal experience, going on particularly a short-term cross-cultural missions trip is the single best way I know that the Holy Spirit kicks your spiritual growth into hyperdrive.
Our heart's cry is to be God's love to the world, period. So it doesn't matter if it's 3,000 miles across the sea or if it's 20 minutes across the town to see my local neighbor. What our heart is that we would operate out of that mode. And I think when you operate out of that mode, you're less likely to operate it as it being just a ministry that we do. We don't do missions, we live out. Our heart cry is that we would live out missions to the world and to Lake Forest.
The part of God's mission where I believe God is calling Lake Forest to grow the most in the next season of our life has to do with the needs of the poor around the world and God's heart for justice and just social conditions in our own community, in our country, and particularly for the poorest of the poor around the world. I believe that's the next part of being a missional church that's out there for us, and I can't wait to see where it takes us.